Walsh. It goes towards Röhl. Brilliant save indeed. Walsh has scored. Leicester City are in dreamland now. Vardy in the middle. This could be a huge moment. Vardy scores. And it's pandemonium in Leicester.
Mahrez with his left, Albrighton with his right. It is Mahrez, it's a good ball in. Morgan's there, it's in! Leicester City score! It is a captain's goal from Wes Morgan, who lifted the Premier League trophy in May. He might have played a big part now in taking Leicester City through to the quarter-finals of the Champions League.
Lift the trophy to the skies. Leicester City are the champions of the Premier League. 5,000 to 1.
Good evening and welcome back to Blue Tinted Glasses for Fox's Den. Wednesday night, 7 p.m. It's time for Fox's Den, and we have a very, very, very interesting discussion to have tonight, of course. And it is all about that man on the thumbnail, that man in the title, Martí. Wait for it, guys. Cifuentes. There we go. There's one for you. That's how it's pronounced.
God.
Cifuentes. It's Cifuentes, not Cifuentes. Yeah. No, I am going to continue calling him Cifuentes just so I don't look like a twat. Okay, so yeah, Cifuentes. Of course, out of the blue, really, yesterday while we started the live with Imran, Martí Cifuentes linked with the Leicester job. Apparently, according to all the rumors and stuff, you know, he is the leading candidate. We've seen little bits and bobs today from unreliable people saying, oh, it's going to cost 500 grand and all of this stuff. So we won't know the full details, of course, but we'll wait and see what drops. And yeah, we're going to talk about him today. We're going to gauge the reactions on the panel, gauge the reactions in the chat. I want you to let us know what you think to Martí Cifuentes, if you can, in the chat. And yeah, let's get into it. Before we get started, Anil, what's going on, mate? How's everything with you?
All good. I was away yesterday when that news dropped, but I mean, come on, Leicester, get on with it. Was it 82 days or something now? Even if we appoint this guy was let go at the end of last season. Farcical. Get on with it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So long we had to wait for Röhl sacking, and now nearly 2 weeks. 2 weeks on Friday it will be. Since he was sacked. So, Ragsy, what's going on with you, mate? How's things with you?
Yeah, evening, boys. Just got a pile of cooking in the oven now. So, it's, no, I'm all good. Yeah, I don't know whether to sort of laugh at the club state in a minute or just I'm not even surprised, but we'll get into that for sure.
Yeah, Jack, I know you've been as busy as I have, mate, with all the streams recently. What's going on with you? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Enjoying the weather. Busy times being a Leicester fan, covering everything and analysing everything and just talking to different people and getting an understanding of different things. So, yeah, I'm good. Hopefully this Cifuentes one will be done by the end of the week. Media day is tomorrow at Leicester City, by the way, at Seagrave. So maybe they'll have him holding a Leicester City shirt up tomorrow, but won't confirm anything until after.
Yes, yeah, we'll wait and see. Although there isn't a kit for him to be holding up, unless they want him holding up the training kit. But there will be a kit next week, people. The Leicester City kit is going to be released next week commencing the 14th. So yeah, next week at some point the home kit will be dropped. I don't know if the away and third will follow. I don't know, but the home kit definitely will be. So there we go for people who have been asking about that. Okay. Let's look at some comments first and see what people are saying, and then we'll talk about it. Cifuentes is blue and white army, says Salt. Ray with a little party tent there. Frankie with the... mate, Anil, how many times has this been posted on Fox's Talk over and the eyes as well? Where's the eyes, Frankie? You need to give us the eyes as well. Yeah, that's funny. Zayd says he's taking a pay cut to join. Yeah, that's what reports suggest. We'll wait and see. Marty fucking Pella would do me, says Tripe Onions. Good evening to everyone. Good evening to you as well, Dave. I know I now have to throw away my multiple page Danny Röhl tactical analysis. Let's start with this actually quickly. Anil, The reports today suggest that Danny Röhl is going back to Sheffield Wednesday, despite him being AWOL for the last few days. I mean, what on earth do you think is going on there? Do you think he was just chatting to us and because we're not getting him, he's gone out? What do you think's going on there? Because it's very weird. He seemed like he just wants absolutely nothing to do with them. And now suddenly, apparently he's going back.
Well, I think that's farcical again from the way that we run our club. There was only one club in the entire country that was worse run than Leicester right now, which is Sheffield Wednesday. And yet their manager would rather, let's see what this takeover is all about. I'd rather stick with. By the way, they're banned from signing players for the next 3 transfer windows. And yet he's willing to stick with that in the years to come here. So something behind the scenes absolutely stinks. I mean, you mentioned there already the salary of Martí Cifuentes. It doesn't smell right at all, as I've said. I think, like I say, I mean, the club treats everyone like crap. I think you pointed out to me, Locks, the fact that they dropped that news yesterday, 1, when your show just started, and 2, just 1 hour before the Fox's Trust thing. These guys, they're always about that. Control the narrative. Don't let the peasants uprise. That's what's going on here. No, I'm being serious, right? And it's interesting you mentioned the kit. I'm going to say it again on the show. Don't buy that frigging kit, guys. Even you, Jack. I know you're the most loyal Leicester City fan of all time. You've got enough Leicester City shirts there to last you a lifetime, right? Don't do it until this club treats people like you, who's a true loyal fan, properly, because they're not doing it. But by the way, great photo of John Rudkin from the game last week. So just sort of throw that out there.
No, I agree. Jack was on Rudkin watch for sure. I mean, sponsors Wasserman, yeah, maybe so. Although my guess, this is just a complete guess. My guess is it's going to be another foreign finance company or betting something like that. Although I can't talk with recent sponsorship, but I'm just saying, I'm not moaning about it. I'm just saying I think it will be foreign finance or betting, something like that will be the shirt sponsor. Ragsy, talk to me, mate. Danny Röhl, it looked for a while that he was going to be the next Leicester manager. But everybody, big shout out to the sponsors of the channel, Match Bingo. Yes. Get that on your front of your shirt, Leicester City. But no, Ragsy, mate. Danny Röhl, it was interesting that he was heavily linked. It looked like he was going to go AWOL, or he did go AWOL. And now he's on his way back to Sheffield Wednesday. It's a bit crazy. Yeah.
Firstly, welcome to the dark side, Neil. So fully welcome and all that on the boycott. Fully agree. This with Danny Röhl, like for any other club in the 92, this just seemed very simple, very doable for any club just to begin some negotiations, pay a fee, and get this over the line. Like he's practically in piranha-infested waters, like on a sinking ship that's just about to go down. Maybe it's and I think potentially it's the impending takeover. So maybe, he wants to sort of impress for a new regime. But if that doesn't give you a sign as to how far we've fallen as a club, I don't know what will. The fact that he's willing to stay at Sheffield over us, if that's not a highlight as to how things are run and how toxic and unbearable that managers are looking at us right now and thinking in terms of the culture and how far it's fallen, when are people going to wake up and realize and smell the coffee here? What is it? Like, I don't care whether it's $1 million or 3 million or 300K. You pay the fee, you get him in. You pay the fee for his staff, you get him in. Where is this money now? How do you proceed to move forward as a football club if you can't pay a compensation for the most important bit of recruitment that you need to do in an upcoming season? We had 80 days. Monday, to be fair, I'm quite a bit less pissed today. But again, that's due to the whole moderation of fans and stuff. Now we're getting the Cifuentes links, and we'll come on to that for sure. But Monday, I was like, after seeing that list of 6 odd managers, 4 of them just quite frankly, that has been compiled by Nigel Farage for an extent, and just it's English managers just tossed into a wheelie bin. That's what we're looking out of. And I'm like, is that after 80 days, that is the best you can come up with? Or literally, you look to the long-standing connection that we've had with Wasserman Agency, and it's like we basically just paid them a fee to do a director of football's job when we have a director of football there. So what the fuck does he do? Susan Whelan, when you look at sponsors and stuff, what kind of chief executive is she? What are we paying these guys? Well, like, people go, oh, like Whelan's got nothing to do with this. What the fuck does she do here then? Why is she on our payroll? Seriously, honestly, I'm tired of this regime. I just want change so badly moving forward from this. And God help Cifuentes when he comes in. I wish him all the best of luck if it turns out to be him. And we're not sort of sitting here and moving on from the problems and stuff. This is not over just because we've got a decent enough manager in, okay? The problems are only just going to continue as long as this regime is in charge.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, you're speaking from the heart, mate. And here's a comment from Dave. Rags is on a rant. He is indeed. I mean, he's only saying what a lot of people are thinking.
Me unintentional. It was just like, that's the thing. That's the thing.
I mean, Jack. You know the pain, mate. Like we speak to Sheffield Wednesday fans, we speak to QPR fans, we speak to Sheffield United fans, right? All of this stuff to try and get a lowdown on the manager. Of course, it's never that simple with Leicester. They've got another man. But are you surprised Danny Röhl is going back after all of the rumours, all of the links?
Yeah, to be fair, this Danny Röhl thing's dragged on, and they knew Röhl was going to be leaving anyway, so they really should have had somebody actually lined up to take over, but they haven't. And Danny Röhl, if he wanted to come, he'd have come money. Let's be fair, he'd have forced his way out of Sheffield Wednesday, no matter how much Leicester City with a compensation and everything like that. Chanzeri would have played hardball with Leicester straight away because of the situation Sheffield Wednesday's in. So he would have said to Leicester, how much do you want him? How hard are you going to work to get him? And this is what would have dragged out at Sheffield Wednesday regarding Chanzeri versus Leicester. So that one was then for Leicester thought, okay, then, well, we're not going to wait any longer. We have got a short period of time to appoint somebody. Danny Röhl has only gone back to Sheffield Wednesday because there's no other club there for him to even go to. Wolfsburg didn't want him. Leipzig didn't want him. Middlesbrough, Southampton. He twerked a lot of clubs. He might as well have turned into a gymnast, for God's sake. The amount of twerking that in the amount of stretches. Do you know what I mean? But Leicester then said, we're moving on. We ain't doing it. So this compensation of £1 million, it could have been anything. Chanzeri could have been like, well, I want more than that. And then Leicester been like, well, we can't give you any more than that. And this is what the legal terms come to, innit? Because Leicester come to a bit of a standstill with Danny Röhl. And you can see why clubs are after him. But yeah, something not quite right about that one, to be honest. And Cifuentes, a name that Leicester have now played their final card in this sort of motion. I've seen the reactions of Chris Wilder, Gary O'Neill, and then they thought, well, we'll now pull the card out of the unnamed man, and there we go. And now Leicester fans seem to be very happy with Cifuentes. There don't seem to be questions asked, but it's about bringing stability to the club, which they need, and a plan if they have actually got one. And I hope Cifuentes can come in and do that for us.
Well, Anil, let's get into it, mate. Cifuentes. By the way, big shout out to the nearly 400 already in here, over 200 on YouTube. Big shout out to you guys. If you're watching on X, as 160 of you are, head over to YouTube, get involved in the live chat, get away from X, horrible platform, although I'm on it a lot. No, Anil, Martí Cifuentes. No, talk to me, mate. I mean, we've been speaking in our group chat and stuff like that. I've seen you vocal on I've seen you talking on Fox's Talk as well. Obviously, you'll be getting your head into Marty's game. But let's start on the base of it. Let's start simple, Anil. It is a return to a similar brand of football that we had 2 years ago under Enzo Maresca.
It is, and I've just got something prepared there quickly. Who remembers this amazing moment from the title-winning season?
But that is an extraordinary goal to win any game. Here's Mahrez, put into change, brilliant stuff. Oh, astounding. Okazaki goes down. It's loose.
Of course,
Penalty!
Shinji Okazaki fell over at the end of it. It was a penalty, definitely. But what I'm saying is, lads, tiki-taka football is back on the menu. And that, I think, is a good thing. I think Enzo's style was a bit slower, but I wanted to show that clip because that's what tiki-taka originally was supposed to be, like much faster movement of the ball, rapidly deploying it. So, yeah, look, I think in terms of a style of play, it's a good fit for our squad. That, I think, is the most alarming thing about this manager search, is that Sean Dyche, Chris Wilder, even Gary O'Neill, they've not shown that they can play anything like that style of football. So it just shows you that we're going all over the place. So I think just for the sort of sake of like, okay, do I think his style of football will work with our squad? Yes. Do I think it'll work in the Championship? Yes. Do I think it'll be entertaining? Yes. Do I think it'll get results? Yes. I think my only concern is that do I think it'll work if we get to the Premier League? Maybe not. But then to be fair to this manager, you know, he actually beat us and he beat Leeds in the same season. He beat Leeds 4-0 to help us get promoted without having that much possession. So that could be something to look forward to. So I think on paper, it at least makes sense. I think, you know, you have to call it what it is. He's not the next big thing in football. I think the reason why Danny Röhl was exciting for people is that so far, Danny Röhl has not lost his job, right? He's just going on an upward trajectory, up and up and up, right? And that is normally the sign of someone who's destined for greater things. I think this guy is probably, I think he's worth a shot. I don't think, I think he is a sort of manager that a sort of parachute payments club in the Championship would probably be looking for. But at the same time, I don't see sort of, 5-10 years time, he's a new manager of, insert top 4 club in England sort of thing, unless somehow he gets us there. We'll have to wait and see. So I think there is a lot to like about it, but I think you do have to, of course, I know beggars can't be choosers. So that's why I think overall he is, I think he is a good pick. And I have to say, look, fair play to Duck. Duck was calling him out a long time ago. And in fact, when we did the manager shortlist, we always, because I think everyone preferred Danny Röhl over Martí Cifuentes. It wasn't like we had anything against this manager. We just thought Danny Röhl was the better manager. And for us, that is true. But what I'd say is you have to say that QPR, they finished 18th this season. Sheffield Wednesday finished 12th. And I think Sheffield Wednesday had the worst squad. I know that QPR had injuries. I know that players like Chair and Clark were out for a long time. But I still think he probably did underperform with that squad this season. But fair play, the season prior to that, he was amazing. And just before I pass it on, what I will say is this. When QPR came to the King Power in the promotion season of the Championship and they beat us 2-1, you might remember that game, they were really, really impressive. And what I was really impressed with is like every time, you took a freeze frame and you looked at where they were standing compared to where they were just 3 months previously under Gareth Ainsworth. I was like, is this the same team? This is ridiculous. Like they were all standing in really good positions. They're off the ball work, which is, I think the mark of a good manager, right? Because individual flair, someone can bang one in from 25 yards, but people sticking to a plan, understanding that plan and executing it. That's what a top coach does. And they were doing that. They were also doing clever things. Like they let us have possession, but they let us have it in areas where it was never going to hurt them in a million years. And we really struggled to score. We only scored, I think, of Ben Nelson in that game. So that is really encouraging because I said to you that Enzo Maresca, the thing that impressed me is I couldn't believe in like the first friendly that I saw from him. I was like, how has he got this team playing inverted fullbacks and the passing triangles are already working inside 2 weeks? Like, I want to know because I'm telling you, that cannot be easy. You got to drill players into position. So that is quite good. So I think it would be a good appointment. I just hope it's true because yesterday it was O'Neill, tomorrow it's Wilder, Monday it'll be Warnock, Big Sam will be back on the menu. Just do it. Get him in. And I do think that the fact that he's had to work his way up, he's not a Nepo baby, he's not got to where he is because he's like some ex-Barcelona academy player. He's just like the everyman who he's already got like 2 decades worth of experience, despite the fact that he's only 42. That's quite impressive. So yeah, I like the appointment. And I think he would do well for us. And just before I pass on the next one, imagine Mavididi, Fatawu, Monga in the 10. They're all rotating around. Ricardo's bombing on. Dani Alves styles to join the attack. Oof. I feel a bit slightly even thinking about it, but in a good way.
Yeah. Well, this is what I'm saying, and we'll touch on this in more detail about. I feel like it almost feels like they've lowered the fans' expectations just to give us Martí Cifuentes. I feel like if Martí Cifuentes was the first name linked this summer, it wouldn't be as positive. Is my belief, but we'll talk about that in a bit. I mean, Ragsy, I'll come to you next, mate. It is a return to a similar brand of football. To what we played under Enzo Maresca. It's not, like a Steve Cooper or a Sean Dyche or Chris Wilder, who else we've been linked with. Are you happy to see the club returning to that or what? Because remember, as far as we're aware, as far as fans are aware, that would suggest it's a top-driven signing. It's Top who apparently likes or wants Leicester to play this way. Apparently it's Top that, wanted Enzo to have Leicester playing like Man City, and we seem to be going down the similar route this time as well.
I mean, let me get something very clear straight away. Like, the club deserve absolutely no credit for this. Like looking at Cifuentes now. Okay, if that was in their mind and in their thinking of an Enzo contingency plan, then he would have been on the short list immediately after Röhl was gone. Like, because he was out of a job for nearly like 2 months now. So this appointment, it feels like maybe they stumbled upon this appointment, kind of like how they stumbled upon Enzo. When you look at, he was outsourced by someone and was given to the club by a recommendation. So in this sort of scenario, I don't think, like, when you look at, I feel like they're with O'Neill, with Wilder, with Deitch, I feel like they're Rudkin's crap that he's just put on the dossier, or maybe probably Wasserman as well with the agency. And then, like, it just feels like, for me, the priority isn't what's best for Leicester. It seems to be what's cheap, free to go and appoint. And that seems to be the priority. It's convenience over quality. So when you actually look at Cifuentes, like, to be fair, 100% would have taken him over Cooper, like, after Enzo went. And I was quite impressed with his stint when he took over from Ainsworth as well, when, like, QPR's hierarchy were also in disarray. And he managed to, like, stable the foundations and got them playing, like, multiple brands of football with the sort of lack of personnel that he had over there. And yet, the potential to really sort of go on and build. And I think that was like James Alcott, and he was alluding to the fact that, like, he was really, like, in terms of his coaching expertise, it spans since he was really young, like in his early 20s or something. So, like, he's been around the block a lot. I feel like he would have a lot of good ideas and that potential for us to then try and replicate Enzo's sort of style, not only in the Championship, but maybe in the Premier League one day. So, like, yeah, cool. Like, they stumbled upon, like, the right guy. But I think when it comes to sort of a positional play with whatever he's sort of planning with the system, he's going to have a lot of a tougher job compared to what Enzo did last time. He's going to have, like, the lack of quality that we've got compared to the previous squad that went down has drastically dropped. And I mean, trying to do positional play with the likes of Ayew, Reed, Skip, it's going to be near on impossible. So how is going to manage that?
Well, we're going to talk. We are going to talk about that, Rags. Yeah, we will talk about the quality of the squad and stuff. I mean, Jack, before we do that, let me come to you, mate, because again, I know I spoke to you yesterday on Chris's channel, and you've been in a live chat and bit and stuff like that. And you've done your own shows, but where's your head at with the Martí Cifuentes? Yeah, he does speak English. Yeah, he does speak English. For somebody who asked. What do you think, Jack, to the Martí Cifuentes? Appointment, if it happens, are you pleased with that? Do you think it's a positive step forward, or?
Yeah, I think he's one that the players can get on board with. He's a good man management. He's a good coach. He's very good in transition quite quickly. He's a possession-based man, like bloody most managers who like to play the Pep Guardiola way, but he's a guy who likes to play the Johan Cruyff sort of system. So we might see a few Cruyff turns at the King Power Stadium next season, more times than not. But no, he's 42. He's still young. He's still developing. He has got a very high ceiling. I spoke to a QPR fan earlier on, and he's still going to good things. And he said if he can get Leicester to the Premier League, it'll be a test for him. But I think they said he's in sort of safe hands, Leicester, with the club. He said they've got better quality players, Leicester, rather than QPR, and he's got a lot more resources to work with. But Cifuentes is a man who didn't get on with the board at QPR for certain reasons. I think it was due to sports psychology. I think it was. That guy ended up leaving in the end, and he weren't happy with that. So it's one that the board have got to get aligned with. They've got to be honest and say, well, this is what you've got. This is the budget. Can you work with it? Can we include Andy King? And it's one that I'd be very much positive with, because if you look at the names, Leicester have took their time with this, by the way. They've had Deitch, Röhl, Chris Wilder, Gary O'Neill, and Danny Röhl would have been the only probably one that Leicester fans would have took at that point. Some would have took Deitch, fair enough. But Leicester have not rushed it, have they, like they did with Steve Cooper? They've not gone, oh, well, we put all our eggs in one basket with one manager, like Graham Potter, who didn't come in the end, and then they've forced themselves to go with Steve Cooper because nobody else is there. But they've had an option. And maybe Cifuentes was they're very much an option, but just didn't get named in the manager to see what Leicester City could actually do. So I'm very much for it. I think he can work with this squad very well. Someone asked about the youth development. He's very good at that. That guy did well in the Ajax academy, by the way, in Barcelona. So this guy knows his stuff. And when he started mentioning Johan Cruyff, I would definitely get on my feet for that at the King Power Stadium, because that seems very exciting. And he even outsmarted Enzo Maresca's style. What a nil when QPR came to us in the league that year, and everyone were took by surprise. But yeah, he's one that's got the best out of Elias Chair as well, one that Leicester again has been linked with. Could he be on the way to Leicester City with Cifuentes' appointment?
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I know he played. I think he played out wide quite a bit for Cifuentes at QPR, and I know he also hit someone over the head with a spanner or a hammer in Denmark or Netherlands. However, he's a great player. He's a great player. I mean, Anil, let's talk about him, mates. There's a comment here. I don't want to go too negative, but I think it needs addressing. If the club interviewed Dyche, Wilder, Röhl, O'Neill, and Cifuentes, they clearly don't have a style preference. It's just who impresses us with their PowerPoint at the interview and is cheap. I mean, it's a weird one because we don't know the ins and outs on what has led to their decision, Anil, if this happens. You know, we don't know if it's because of the style they've gone with him, or because he's cheap they've gone for him, or because he impressed in the interview. We don't know this. We're just speculating that it's because Top has always wanted a possession-based style of football at the King Power. Would you be concerned though? I know you're concerned that we seem to be in for all these different types of managers, and it doesn't really scream like there's a plan.
Yeah, I agree with Conscious. I've said it quite a few times that I think it's really worrying that. But basically, we have a club that Ruggsy said it. We have a club that supposedly has a director of football, but he does not do the director of football job. Maybe I've got a feeling that Martin Glover's doing more of that than he is, who maybe has some sort of joined up thinking, like he's one recommended Danny Röhl, got Fatawu. He might make some mistakes as well, but I think he might actually, loosely have some semblance of a plan as to what we're supposed to do. Because, yeah, I mean, the same thing even this last year, like Graham Potter and Steve Cooper, two completely different choices. Even Carlos Scorbrand, to be honest with you, is another different choice as well. So, it doesn't make any sense. You should be thinking, okay, we've got all these young players. They're all playing a certain way. Therefore, we want to have one of 3 or 4 managers that we know play that sort of style, or we know will develop that way. So, yeah, I agree. And then that is the problem. That is exactly what's happened. If someone shows up, they've got a great PowerPoint, or knowing Leicester, they're the only one that bothers turning up with a PowerPoint, and boom, they get the job because they're like, oh, wow, look how impressive it is. When, like I say, they should be doing the other way around. And I said it before there, like I'm upset that we didn't even interview Carlos Cuesta, because I think he is the next big young manager in football. But for example, say before that, the smart clubs, like everyone was talking about Fabian Hürzeler for a reason, right? I bet that, they just thought that was a German guy sneezing. That's probably what our board for. They never even heard of the guy, right? They're clueless in that regard. So, yeah, it worries me, but I don't think anything's going to change. And, whoever said, yeah, we got to hope that we kind of get lucky with it, that we do just get someone in that does want to stay around for a while, that wants to build a legacy and maybe build up the club in their image. I think if we had a builder type like that, it could be quite good, because clearly the club can't do it themselves. But that speaks to a bigger problem. And, I do feel that eventually any half-competent manager is going to be like, we need to bring a proper director of football in, and that's where the fights are going to start. And we've already seen that sort of thing happen a few times in the past, but let's cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Ruggsy, what are your thoughts, mate? I want to just throw a different question at you. I want to get your opinion on, I keep seeing, and it was the same with Danny Röhl, I keep seeing people who say, well, his CV shit. What's he done in the game? What's he won? He only finished mid-table with QPR. Only finished mid-table with Sheffield Wednesday. But there has to be more context added there, Ruggsy. It's like, you stick Pep Guardiola. I'm sorry, if you stick Pep Guardiola at Sheffield, who's the worst team in the league? Who's the worst team in the league? Probably Sheffield Wednesday right now, with embargoes and unable to sign players and rubbish players. They wouldn't rip up trees, mate. Like that, you have to add context, and that's the squad. And somebody mentioned the 2-1 win, right? That QPR had against us last season. Our squad was miles clear. He rocked up to the King Power and he got the better of Enzo. That's just what happened.
It's just like I don't really tend to waste my time on educated fans at the end of the day. I think there was someone in your comments that just like, he was like, oh yeah, more than happy for Martí Cifuentes, but Gary O'Neill got like Bournemouth to 14
that was yesterday.
and we dismiss him. And I'm just like, you just look at results, you look at what sort of job they've done, you leech off troglodytes like whatever TalkSport say or Sky say and stuff, you get warped into the mind. They probably saw Gary O'Neill's like Wolves analysis on Monday Night Football and just based it off that he's a good guy to have around the club. And the problem is, I think we just got people like, I think we've got people like that on our board. That's the thing. So it's just like, they're just, they get jacked off by a PowerPoint or something. That's probably why Cooper was hired. So
they did say that, by the way. It did come out that Cooper impressed on a PowerPoint. That actually came out.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think like Röhl pushed it, and that like I don't even know whether Iowa was even in the room when it came to it, but like they just sort of made a decision, being like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a guy and stuff, and he'll help the youth, and he'll bring progressive styles of play. He's more than what he is, but it turned out to be it just completely fell flat on his face. So yeah.
Yeah, you finished. Sorry, I thought you were going to say
something
else.
Sorry, yeah.
Jack, what about you, mate? Because this is what I keep. Yeah, here we go. This is what I keep seeing. Obviously, Frankie's joking around, but Wilder and Dyche have achieved more. And I saw one on Twitter the other day, and I replied to it and saying it's like saying Bobby Reed has achieved more than Fatawu, so play Bobby Reed over Fatawu. I mean, it's absolute nonsense. But the thing with this guy, Jack, he's only 43 or 42. He's 43, and he's got 20 years experience of coaching. He's been coaching since he was really, really young because he had a nothing football career that didn't go anywhere. And he's been coaching for 20 years. So, he's young and he's experienced. He's had a lot of different experiences abroad, in England now as well. A season and a half in England. He does tick a lot of boxes, mate.
Yeah, this is what you want. When I spoke to Rob Tanner earlier today, he said, remember when I told you Danny Röhl wouldn't come and Sean Dyche wouldn't come? Top wants the modern style of football manager, a young, but a cheap option. And this is what Cifuentes is.
Who said this?
Rob Tanner did on my show a few weeks back when I had him on. He did say that it would never be Dyche or never be Danny Röhl because of the compensation, which probably is the case regarding Danny Röhl anyway. But I don't know. It's the case of Cifuentes has got 20 years experience. The guy's got pedigree. He's learned in every country he's gone to. He's worked under some of the big guys in football. Johan Cruyff is the one. If you talk to Pep Guardiola, he's learned things from Johan Cruyff as well. So he's not the only one, Cifuentes, to learn something. You're talking about the world's elite coach, for God's sake, in Guardiola.
I was going to say, Jack, thank God Manny ain't here because he'd be giving us a 3-hour lesson on the history of I think it goes back to Carlos Vicens. Is that right, Anil? Was he the founder?
Rinus Michels.
Oh, okay. Who's Carlos Vicens? Am I thinking
some random Portuguese manager?
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Like
he's convinced there's a next coming of Jesus.
Like, it'll be like, oh, he'll leech off Enzo and stuff. He'll bring his style of football here, no problem. Yeah.
But Manny would be given us a history lesson. But I mean, Anil, like this is, it goes back decades. This style of football, it's forever evolving. We've had Enzo at the club. I want to ask you, because we do mention a lot. We mentioned it on the weekend about the default system, like Andy King. It was like a plug and play tactic on Football Manager. Like, right, lads, go and do what you did 2 years ago. That'll get, that'll be all right. But it has been 2 years now. How easy do you think it will be if it is Martí Cifuentes to come in and get this squad playing that way?
No, I think it'll be really easy because we got the squad completely set up for it. Like, I'm going to do Manny's job for him now because he's not here. But specifically, Johan Cruyff, when he took over Barcelona as manager, they were coming out of the doldrums of bad financial spending. Sound familiar? And what he did is he lent on the academy rather than their established stars. And he brought all these young players into the team, including a central defensive midfielder who wasn't the strongest. It was called Pep Guardiola, would you believe? Built the team. And he built a team. Basically, what he did is he realized that you need technical players. You don't need necessarily strong tool players. And you got to pass the ball and move it around left, right, and centre. And I just think you look at that friendly against Peterborough. We were better in the second half than the first half. The second half had all these youngsters. They were all combining with one another already. They were all making runs. Did you not see for the goal? It was Aluko that made the assist. Aluko, the centre-back, by the way. So what was he even doing up there, right? So I think the squad is really well set up for that style of play, and I think it will suit us. So I think someone also asked earlier, do I think he'll get us promoted? I think he'll get us into the playoffs for sure. It depends on how many points we get deducted, right? I think ultimately it doesn't matter who we appoint. I think minimum I'd expect is to get into the playoffs. If they're good, they'll get us automatic promotion in second place. And if they really are the next appointed one, somehow they Jesus the title, even if we've got -12 or whatever like that. It'd be really hard, but not necessarily impossible. So we can judge by what any of those things happen. But yeah, I think really specifically with the young players, but also in that 4-3-3, I mean, Sergio Busquets, right? Same thing. You have a midfielder who is the metronome of the team, who's there to pop the ball around. And you literally saw 2 seasons ago, that's why Harry Winks was so good. So, yeah, the squad is really well set up for it. Who he'll use in the other positions, I don't know. But and again, with that 4-3-3, it's all about the wingers. We've got 2 of the best wingers in the league. In fact, we have got the 2 best wingers in the league. Not even 2 of the best. We've got the 2 best. And we might even have the 3rd best. And we might even have the 4th best, depending on how good some of these youngsters are, right? So if that's the case, we should really be cooking. So I am looking forward to it. Striker maybe is a bit of a concern, but I think you can work your way around it. I think especially at this level, we'll probably just loan someone in. So yeah, I think it's he should be able to get the best out of the squad, and it will suit him well.
I was going to say, talking of strikers, Martí Cifuentes was operating with Lyndon Dykes as his number 9 at QPR. So I think even Patson Daka might be an upgrade on Lyndon Dykes, to be honest with you. Although I wouldn't be 100% sure on that. Let me just bring this up because I saw this. It was very funny. It's not real, of course, but look at this. Yeah, going back. Yeah, although the room. I mean, I've seen a couple of rumors already. Somebody said that apparently, he's encouraged by takeover talks and things like that. Other people have said apparently he's been threatened with getting sued for breach of contract for not managing the team. So who knows what's going on there? But yeah, I mean, Ragsy, let me ask you, mate, because the questions about, well, will Marty take us up? I think it's too hard to say because we don't know what points deductions we're going to get. What I would say, from my opinion is that he would get enough points. He would win enough points to take us up. It just depends on what's taken off us.
I think in terms of a coaching aspect, when you look at even the current squad that we've got, as much as I hate so many players in that squad, it is still significantly better than the majority of the squads in the Championship. So I believe he can do a good job. I did, however, say this with Röhl, that he'd somehow keep us up with the squad that we've got. And it's then I was thinking a couple of weeks, okay, maybe we need a couple of signings. Then it all just came crashing down and stuff. So he has great idea. The point being, a manager does have a great ideas. He does have his philosophy and his things in mind. But especially when shit starts to hit the fan, you get adversity from the sakes of players kicking off, boards just going into darkness. It can really sort of test your resolve as a manager. So how would he fare with that? He does have a bit of experience when it came to QPR. That's kind of why, is also like a benefiting factor as to why I wanted Röhl. I still probably would prefer Röhl. I think I don't know. I think maybe he has a higher ceiling. But, Marty, I do see a lot of promise in him, to be fair, and his coaching expertise. And even when I'm comparing the two, I think there are definite traits that I would look at with Marty and think I think maybe he could have a better temperament. I think if, let's say, we did get to the Premier League, I think he'd be more willing to go ahead and just be a bit more versatile in terms of the system, actually just be willing just to conserve and just remain in the block and then sort of still focus on positional play, but then just focus on the counter attack and the counter press and still go to engage a lot higher into the pitch to go and take the game to teams. And when you talk about the youth as well, if there's a lot more promise in the youth, it was never really a guarantee with Röhl. That I just thought, from his sort of principles and stuff and what he demands from players in terms of his high intensity pressing, that he'd more sort of steer towards the youth because they'd have a lot more energy and a lot more to prove. But with Martin and stuff, it is true what he has done, like Jack's saying and Neil's saying. Then that'd be brilliant. That'd be brilliant because, quite frankly, I'd rather look to the youth at this stage over the old guard. So I really hope it works. But at the end of the day, he is going to need some sort of support. He is going to need some sort of clarity. Otherwise, the fear is that no matter what sort of ideas he can go and bring, it's all going to come crashing down and stuff. And unfortunately, he is part of a failing regime. So, well, it's a failed regime in my opinion, but that's a different thing. But if he can do an exceptional job, at the very least get us into the playoffs, amazing. Until we can suffice over and sort the shit out that we need to do. I really wish him all the best if he does come in there. You see from like TalkSport and stuff, you don't know whether it's true that, he could be on less wages than he's on at QPR, and he's willing to pay his compensation to come here. I mean, fair play to him. Fair play to him if that is true. So, no, there is a lot of promise in there, and I really hope if he does come in, he can do that well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Jack, he does have a better record with, and again, I suppose there's context here because you don't know what Röhl had available, but he's got a good record with youth, Cifuentes. You could say it's a better record than what Röhl has with youth, and that's got to be a plus. That had to be one of the main things that we spoke to prospective managers about what youth they can bring through. But also, Jack, I said this with you on Chris's channel yesterday. The style of football, mate. Like the example I used yesterday was, imagine two scenarios. Bilal El Khanous has got his agent ringing him every day, talking about this club might be interested. This club might be interested. Imagine Bilal El Khanous sat in the gym at Seagrave on the lap pull downs, and he sees Chris Wilder walk through the door. Right? Imagine that. Now compare that to when he sees Martí Cifuentes walk through the door. I think he is far more likely to want to stick around. I'm not saying he will stick around, but I'm saying he's more likely to stick around under a manager like Martí Cifuentes.
Yeah, actually, Martí Cifuentes will have them conversations with Bilal. Maybe he'll turn his head and make him stay at Leicester like Love Island. Let's be fair. Well, that did happen, yeah. No more MasterChef, so you don't know what he'll be cooking up next. So
Leicester, mate. Leicester's promotion campaign. He'll be on the show.
Well, let's hope he helps Cifuentes cook up a nice paella or something for Leicester City. Yeah. So I don't know. I think Cifuentes, he'll talk about his time at Barcelona, his time at Ajax, and what he can develop and utilise with his squad. If you're talking Johan Cruyff football, I think that squad sits and listens, to be honest, because they'll be intrigued into what he says. They're not going to sit here for an hour meeting. He'll probably do it in about 10, 15 minutes and analyse everything with them, what he wants from them and how the development wants to go next season. I think he's got a very good squad to work with. I spoke to a Sheffield United fan yesterday about him, and he said if Leicester didn't have the points deduction next season, you'll probably end up with 100 plus points. Chris Wilder would probably get you to about 90, and that'd be it. But he said if he comes in, he said he's got a high ceiling. He's got a very good squad to work with for Tarwus, your Mavridis, your El Khanouses if he sticks around, and then you've got the Mongers in there who can really develop under him. So if we can utilise this squad correctly, and he can go in there, say, tomorrow and have a conversation with the squad, maybe some of them will think, I was thinking of leaving, but this guy's come in. He's worked under like Barcelona and that, and Ajax, and I'm intrigued to see where this goes. So maybe it might be a sticking point. But if Wilder said that to you, and you know what Wilder's done in football, just like, black bloody Jurassic Park music coming on when he's talking to him. It's fossil football, isn't it? But I think football's far better.
Yeah, I mean, Neil, it is an important topic because we heard that 2 years ago, Enzo Maresca came in. There were a group of players that didn't want to leave. Obviously, some left anyway, like the bigger names. Yuri Tielemans went on a free. Harvey Barnes went to Newcastle. James Maddison went to Spurs. But, we heard there were a group of players that wanted to leave. And after speaking to Enzo, they decided to stay. And again, I'm sure there'll still be some that leave, but there might be some players in our squad currently who did have plans to leave that might actually want to stick around under Martí Cifuentes next season.
Yeah, I agree, because I think if it suits the style of play, they'll be like, okay, I'm quite down for this. But I think you have to say that the thing with Maresca, like I said, is he was really considered the next best thing in football, right? Because Man City had just won the treble, and it was actually Enzo who came up with the idea of inverting the fullbacks because they were doing that in the PL2 team. And so Pep decided to go with it. And yeah, they won the treble. So it worked out pretty nicely, right? So that's why people were excited to see what he could do. Of course, he could have been overhyped, but it turned out to be the real deal. He's just got to the final, hasn't he, of the Club World Cup. So, proved to be there. So I think in that regard, I don't think, it'll be as much as people want to. But also, to be fair to Marty, if he comes in, I think last time round, it felt like the club was saying, okay, we really apologize for getting relegated. It should never have happened. So we're going about this the right way. We're getting the next best manager. We're spending like we're a Premier League club, even though we're in a championship. It will never happen again. That's what it felt like. I think somewhere along the line, it all went wrong. They realized that, no, the PL and EFL aren't going to stand for it. You've got to apply your points penalty. I know King Power went bankrupt in the meantime, whatever. So I think for that reason, here's a question for you guys, because I remember you asked at the panel yesterday, Locks, do you think Cifuentes will be backed if he's appointed manager? Because I would tell you, if he's allegedly paying for his own compensation and is taking salary of less than QPR, it's a good job that Andy King's playing them youngsters, because they're the ones that are going to be playing. You might see the occasional loan signing, but I think I don't know if you saw this actually, Benjamin Bloom did one yesterday as well. He goes, it's not just us, it's very noticeable that Ipswich, Sheffield United, Southampton and Leicester, I think between them all have made a total of 2 signings, and one of them is like a goalkeeper on a free or something like that. To be fair, I think Southampton just signed the striker this morning, but I would not be expecting to see anything like the sort of signings that we made 2 years ago, because their strategy then was that we're not going to be playing ball with this, player parachute payments malarkey. We're Leicester City. We've just come from finishing 8th, which was a disappointment if we would have finished 8th. But this time round, I think the cows have come home to roost.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you mentioned Sheffield United. I did see an article yesterday or earlier today saying that, they are on a budget, on a restricted budget. They're going to have to sell before they sign. And Ragsy, I think it's going to be the same this time around. I mean, the board need to be honest. Don't go lying to managers. Tell him, right, this is a situation. We've not got much to spend. If we sell Bilal for 25 million, you'll have 10 million to spend. Something like that. You have to be honest with them. Don't piss him off. But because the good thing, though, about Marty Ragsy is we know he's not a yes man. So he will call the board out if they lie to him.
Which is absolutely a good thing to have, because you speak to Enzo, you speak to Brendan, you speak to Puel. They've consistently been lied to in every single window and stuff that they've gone about it. Initially they've had a bit of clarity and be like, yes, of course, have all the signings that you want and stuff. And then they run into a wall and be like, oh yeah, we can't spend anymore. But rather than actually telling them about it and thinking of a plan to go and raise funds and stuff, or look at marketing to go and raise revenue elsewhere, they just don't really bother telling them. And, unfortunately, he's just going to be another manager that's going to be kept in the lurch. That's just going to be the reality. But yeah, you should at least, if he does come in, sit down and just be like, have some clarity, or just, at least suppress the shit show and actually just give him a bit of clarity, just to sort of say, look, we've had some issues before, but it's not as bad as people are making it out to be and stuff. So you're still going to be able to spend a little bit, or, we'll still get, we'll do everything that we can to get free transfers and loan signings and stuff in the meantime. Then, if we can push for promotion and stuff, this should all be behind us. And then we'll be like, okay, cool. Then you'll get a bit more sort of a say in terms of investment and stuff, and in terms of technical directors and all that. See how you are with Röhl. I personally would just want to fuck them all off, but just at least give him some groundwork to be like, okay, you know what, maybe it's shit now, but at least then maybe there's something to sort of look forward to in the future, especially if you manage to get them promoted and stuff. I think with what Anil was saying with when it came to Enzo sort of convincing the players with his style, I think it's more of a man management thing. I think that was something that was really sort of underappreciated from the outside looking in, in terms of the one-to-one conversations that he'd have and how he'd sort of plan them in their system and stuff. And pretty much all the players were so on board with his ideas and stuff. It's one thing, having the ideas and learning off the likes of Pep and all these amazing coaches that he's done, but it's another thing then conveying your message to the rest of the squad. When you look at Puel, you could understand what he was trying to do, but he was such a poor communicator and no one could understand what he was saying. But so and the only people under Enzo, they didn't really like his football, were kind of too shit to go and pull off his style anyway. So I think, like, you know, that's something like with Marty that could also be pretty cool as well. You know, he does speak English. He does seem to communicate well. So again, like another sort of good trait to have from him.
Jack, I mean, when we heard that Begovic rumor a few weeks ago, we were saying, "Oh, Sean Dyche has come in because we're linked with Brownhill and we're linked with Begovic." But someone's made a point actually that Cifuentes also had Begovic. Maybe it was the plan all along. But no, I mean, Jack, I'm going to come to you and ask you this, mate. Right? And everybody in the chat, let me know in the chat what you think. Do you think there is a bit of shithousery going on here by the board, Jack, in the sense that, do you think they have leaked O'Neill's name and Wilder's name to make, you know, going back to what I asked at the start, because I don't think if Cifuentes was leaked, his name came out the day after Röhl was sacked, I don't think the reaction would have been as positive as it is right now. I think the only reason that we are, you know, so positive right now, of course, you know, we do in part think he's going to be a great choice, but also the comparison from him to Wilder and O'Neill, I mean, it's night and day, really.
He's an up-and-coming manager, Cifuentes. Compared to Wilder, I think his best football's behind him, let's be honest. I'd have said the same for O'Neill as well. But Leicester I think they've played it, haven't they, to be honest? They've told the media, go and say this and that, and then we want to see the reaction to how Leicester City fans feel on this situation. I mean, me and you have done a lot of shows on fans' reaction, haven't we, to different managers and how they've responded. Maybe the club have had a little watch and think, you know what? This is bad news. Maybe we shouldn't have done that in the first place. But then they thought, Cifuentes, now they've played the deal and they've made that final chess move with Cifuentes. This Wilder and O'Neill thing was a smokescreen to see the fans' reaction. Him being Cifuentes was the real deal for Leicester City. And this is why I think they've had up their sleeve all along. They just wanted to get the sort of feel of how fans react, because you know how social media is. A lot of things get said, and I think they'll know that Leicester fans have criticised them quite heavily, haven't they, and become frustrated, and rightfully so. You know, they deserve to be criticised because of the mistakes they've made, and they've got to now sort of bring the right man in, develop it, go with a contingency plan. No good at bringing Cifuentes in if you ain't got a contingency plan. You need a short list for the next managers coming after him. Like they should have done with Enzo from the start. When Enzo came in, they needed a contingency plan to play that style of football. A rookie can't play chess, he's only got to connect for. Well, hopefully he connects it all together this bloody summer, to be fair, because he's got a lot to answer for and he's got a lot of making up to do, John Rookin, by the way.
Well, he shouldn't even be given a chance.
But is it the case that they're too smart for that type of thing? We've said it, haven't we? Are they too smart? Over to Reedy for
Can I wait? Yeah, sorry. You know why they do it? You know where they release, like with O'Neill and Wilder first? It's to moderate fans' expectations. Yeah. They just throw in the name just to, again, to an extent, gauge the fans' reactions and stuff, but they're kind of thinking like, okay, this is kind of lower on the priority list for us. I think this is in their minds being like, you know, they want other candidates over them, but they'll throw in there just in the case that is kind of worst case scenario for them, in the case that they do end up appointing an O'Neill, Wilder, let's say if Röhl or Cifuentes has said no. And then they'll bring out Cifuentes and then they'll like be like, oh, okay. So we're all sitting here like, oh, well, it could have been worse. And the board will go, see, we came in clutch after all, guys. Don't worry. We got your back and stuff. And be like,
you guys are paying them way too much respect. These guys are complete bozos. Play that bozo alarm. They're idiots. The only thing they're smart enough to do is play that news 1 hour before the Foxes trust thing because they're scared that there might be a fans riot. They're not smart enough to come up this shit. Bragsy, they've had like 82 days to appoint someone. They're too busy playing polo rather than sacking. They're idiots. They're idiots.
I disagree. Like, you know, they're idiots, but you know, when shit comes to like the thing is they treat us as like a holiday home. They treat us as like some part-time work. They just turned up this week and they're like, oh yeah, shit, we got to appoint a manager, we need a kit, we need a sponsor, a comms director just left, half our coaching teams just left. Right, okay, we're like cramming it in with our dissertation like 2 weeks before the deadline, and I just sort of turned up to work, seeing that.
Is this from experience? This is what you did, Ramsey.
Just started working this week, but then when it comes to like, you know, gauging fans' opinions and stuff, they are conniving, they're toxic, they're twats, quite frankly. You know, they do have schemes and stuff. That's how they stay in power. That's like, you know, that's all they're interested in. All right. Because at the end of the day, if that, like, as long as they get their money out of this club, like, you know, and they just need to focus on staying in their role. Because if they get sacked, if they get moved on, there's no way in hell that any other football club is going to hire them. So that is only their focus. That's their primary focus. So they will do the means of what they need to do to go and stay in those roles.
This is what I've been saying for ages, though. This is why it confused me. Like, Top could have the easiest tap-in at the back post of his life if he sacked Rudkin. Like, so many fans would instantly be like, oh, yeah, you've grown a pair of bollocks, mate. Fair play. And I just find it crazy, Jack, that he just won't do it. Like, he just won't sack Rudkin at all. Like, it seems like an impossible, you know, scenario that it would ever happen, and it's so bizarre.
The only answer to that is Rudkin's been a part of the family since Vishai was here. He was a part of Vishai in the title winning season, and they trust Rudkin. The family do, and they're good friends. Whatever, you know, they're not going to want to sort of shit on each other. Let's be fair. This is what it is. They're not going to move him because they can't. They're too much trust in it, and the trust has gone way beyond the point. Leicester City are like the conclave, you know, like hiring a pope. This is what Leicester City is. We're waiting for the smoke to come out of the chimney. That's what it feels like, because I'm waiting, and we'll see it.
Yeah. I mean, Anil, let me ask you this, mate, because we asked the same question about Danny Röhl. So we'll ask it about Cifuentes as well. Does it concern you? I mean, it's been doing the rounds today. Simon Jordan called him a disloyal rodent because he was kind of twerking for a few different jobs at the end of his time at QPR. Does that concern you at all, or do you just see it as somebody wanting to, you know, an ambitious manager wanting to further his career?
Yeah, I think that's part of the game now. I think it is a fair concern, but it's always going to happen. Leicester's a stepping stone club, isn't it? So if he does well and someone else is in for him, you got to protect yourself against it. I guess the problem is that, like, Brendan, obviously Arsenal wanted him. I got a feeling he probably was twerking for them too, but they gave him an astronomical contract, and that's why they didn't want to sack him, because he was on such a huge contract. They didn't want to pay him out. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But still, I'd rather have a manager who's so good that another team wants him rather than a manager that no one wants.
Yeah. We've had too much black smoke recently, says Josh. Salt says it concerns me in the sense that he was talking to clubs because of a fundamental breakdown in relationship with the CEO. Over club
that's more likely, if you ask me. Is that I think anyone who's halfway decent is going to take 6 months to be like, this lot don't have a clue what they're doing.
Yeah, I think this is the thing, though. It's like, if that happened at Leicester, let's say there was a fallout because they lied to him and he went twerking for the club, I think Leicester fans would actually be on his side. They'd be like, yeah, mate, fair play, get out of here. You know what I mean? You don't want to be stuck with these lot. Let me have a look here. It will never happen, and this is why the fans feel so discounted from the club. Yes, you're talking about sacking. Yeah, because it's like we moan about it, we talk about it, we call for action all the time, but deep down, we know that he's not going to... Rudkin will still be here. You know, we said at the end of last season where it looked a shoo-in that so much should happen, but really deep down we knew he would still be here. I know Tanner was saying it from the beginning, but he is a bit of a traveller. He probably enjoys learning and moving and learning other cultures, intrigues him. Yeah, Rudkin is basically an uncle to Top. He will never leave King Power, but Top could get some help. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're saying. Like, I always say that, you know, I would rather the club is successful under King Power personally because of the history, but I just don't think we will be successful again under King Power, right? So that's the problem that I've got. Let's just end the Cifuentes chat with you guys on this. And Neil, Go on, mate. Where is your head at? Are you happy if this happens? If this all goes through, no plot twist again. As long as it happens, will you be happy with this appointment?
Yeah, I think it'd be a pretty decent outcome, all things given. So that's why I'm still not entirely convinced it will happen. But yeah, I think I'd probably say 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10. I think for where we are right now, it's maybe better than that. It's maybe a 9 out of 10 given we are right now. But I think, when you look at Southampton appointing Will Still, the Quest, the one I've mentioned before, I think there were other up and coming young managers we could have also got that could have had a real impact. But I think this is a decent shout, yeah.
Ragsy, over to you, mate. Are you happy if this happens?
Yeah, happy enough as I can be, but like I said, and like I will continue to say, this regime, King Power, just needs to go, and we're not really going to see any sort of long-term change until that happens and stuff. We talk about Rudkin. You want to be successful, the King Power. No, I want Leicester to be successful. That's always the end goal for me. That's always the prerogative. That's always my mindset and where my priorities lie. If the current custodians aren't good enough to do it, or they're unable to do it, then they need to move on. So yeah, when it comes to the manager, yeah, I hope he comes in. I wish him all the best. But yeah, he can only get so far under this regime.
Jack, over to you, mate. Are you going to be happy if we manage to get Cifuentes over the line?
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll bring a bit more positivity. He built that relationship with the QPR fans last season before. So he had to stable the ship, and I think that's something he's going to offer at Leicester, and I think he'll build that relationship back between the club and the fans, and that's what Enzo did. But let's see if the club can actually go and do what they're telling him and be honest, for God's sake. That's all I want to see from the club to the manager, and hopefully they can get in line, and it's a long-term vision than a 6-month one like bloody Watford managers.
Yeah. Well, we are becoming the Watford, really, aren't we?
6 managers in 2 years. It's a lot.
Yeah, that's how it seems. Right, I'm gonna let all three of you go. Because I don't think we're gonna get the QPR fan, but I'm gonna give it an extra minute or two just in case he does. So, cheers to Anil, cheers to Jack, cheers to Ragsy. Thanks for coming on the Den again. Oh, that rhymes. I'm a poet, don't you know it? And yeah, hopefully we'll have an emergency stream soon. Maybe in like an hour or something. That would be nice, but I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, cheers, guys. Thank you. See you soon, boys. See you soon, boys. Right, I'm not going anywhere just yet. We are waiting to see if this QPR fan is free. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes just to see if he does come on. Otherwise, I'm going to end it there. Let's see what some people are saying in the chat. I'm not even going to try and say this. Todos es muy bien con Martí, vamos, Jeffy. Todos es muy bien con Martí, vamos. I've got no idea. Are you still setting up a BA? Yeah, it's up, mate. You needed to reply. Did you reply to Did you reply to the tweet? If you didn't, that's why you're not in there. Message me on Twitter, Josh, and I will add you in, mate. Richard, their fans love him. They do. That's true. That's true. That their fans do really like him, which is always a good thing. I think, as Leicester fans, you'd want other fans to listen to us about if it was one of our players or managers, and I think it's important we do the same. Listen to their fans, what they think of their managers. Spot on, Jack. Just be honest. Ray with the party tent. Odds on getting Olcott on? No, we've not got him on. Although I do have his. You know what? I didn't even think to message him, mate. To be honest with you. I didn't even think to message him, so I will try and get James Olcott on for when he is announced, if he is announced, and that'll be a good guy to get on the channel. James Olcott, what a guy he is. Okay, moving on. Happy to continue looking at that beautiful face, mate. Yeah. Richard says Rudders is a prick. Also fucking thick. Very nice. Here's Manny Boy. What's going on, mate? How are you?
Buenas noches a todos. ¿Todo bien? ¿Qué tal?
Don't start this again.
I'm going Spanish crazy at the moment.
Go on, say how do you know how to say subscribe to Blue Tinted Glasses in Spanish?
I haven't got a clue what the verb to describe is.
You just remembered one sentence on Google Translate, haven't you? That's all.
Yeah, I've got AI in my head built in. I've been chipped by
Elon.
The
Neuralink.
I've been chipped by Elon.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just waiting to see if this QPR fan comes on. But talk to me, mate. I mean, it's been 24 hours since we spoke about it last night. I know you've been doing a lot of research and you've been watching videos. Where's your head at now with Martí Cifuentes?
I assume everybody's watched that coach's voice video, which was very interesting.
So.
And it's not exactly like Enzo because he does like to use fullbacks. He's more very flexible, I would say. A lot of it depends on what the opposition are trying to do, and he's adaptable. But the idea is to get the ball forward, to attack, to utilise space. They do a lot of sort of shifting, so you try and shift the defence one side, so you create space for the opposite winger, switch plays, stuff that we used to do under Enzo. Do you remember the cross balls from Callum Doyle to Fatawu and fast to Mavididi? The diags, yeah. Lots of those little triangles, which you were mocking me for yesterday, and I sent you a few links about.
About basketball. Behave, mate. Get a grip. Don't take it too far with basketball.
It's true. They do that. It's cross sports analysis. That hockey. There's things you can sort of pick up from other sports. Handball. So Peter Schmeichel, one of the best goalkeepers ever. He credits a lot of his sort of. Do you remember? Well, you won't remember, but some of the people in the chat will. He used to have what's called a star technique that Casper had. So when you're charging into a striker, you sort of formation a big star. He learnt that from handball. Handball is where he learnt that stuff. So there is stuff you can pick up from other sports that will help you in football. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see what some of the people are saying. Manny's been in the mirror for the last hour. Yeah, exactly. That's why he's late. Shame the club don't have fast twitch fibers. Well, we do. We have. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you mean the decision makers. Yeah, that's true. Uses all midfielders as pivots and pushes wing backs up. Is that what he does then, Manny? Yeah, is that a good description, mate?
Yeah, he does do. And I'm not really sure. Well, he likes to put his fullbacks up there and get them to drop in sort of a little bit more central, and you create like sort of a V shape at the back. And so you're able to go forward, and you're able to sort of compress it in the middle and sort of really hassle for the ball in the central areas. And then it's like throttling centrally, basically. But yeah, he's very, very interesting. He's clearly a bright guy. You can see, it's not just about what he's saying. You want to get a feel for how he says it, right? And I don't know what you guys take out of that video in particular, but first thing, his English is spectacularly good. It's not like he's trying to cobble sentences together. He is fluent. Not a problem getting your message across. That's very, very important. But also, things like tone, intonation, changing the sort of pitch of your voice, little things like that. He's a bright guy. He knows exactly what he's doing. I was more and more in confidence when having watched that video that we've got the right man in charge. Well, should he come?
Should he come? Yeah. Talk to me on this though, mate. Because look, if we can't buy loads of players, if we can't, invest too much into the squad this summer, we are gonna be stuck with Winks and Skip this season. How do you think they will do in Marty's system?
Well, Winks would be fine. There's no doubt that he would work quite well. His pivot role would no doubt be useful. Skip is a question mark. I mean, how many times do I have to sort of cast aspersion on this guy? I don't want to keep doing it. I don't like doing it. He's a hard-working guy. He tries his best. He's got a good attitude. Never caused a problem. But it's just the quality isn't there. That's just the problem. That's all. So I personally would be, I know we only bought him 12 months ago, but I'd be looking to move him on. I'd try and get what you can for him. Maybe there's a Premier League club that wants to give him a chance and he can go there. We can free up, an opportunity for someone like Lewis Page to get game time. We've mentioned on the scouting a few other midfielders that don't cost much money that we could replace him with. But if we are left with him, is what you're asking, then those two should know each other pretty well. They've kind of played on and off together, trained together for many, many years. And in that league, they should, in theory, be good enough to at least get us into the playoffs, if not better.
Yeah, well, I want to get your opinion on this because Brendan Rodgers, he spoke a couple different languages, didn't he? If you remember. How important do you think that is? Apparently, he can speak 5 different languages. How important do you think that is for a manager in the modern game?
Well, I'm a big believer in that because I do about 6. So
Go on, give us some Afrikaans again. Go on, give us some Afrikaans.
Hoe gaat dit met jou, bro? There you go, it's a bit of Afrikaans. That's like, how you doing, bro? That's pretty good.
French? Got some French?
Tu veux parler un peu de français?
German?
Ein bisschen Deutsch. Ich habe Deutsch für meine Abitur studiert.
Welsh.
Boyo, down in the valley, how you doing?
I didn't see you pulling that out for Steve Cooper last year, mate. What are you playing at?
I should have done my Tom Jones impression there, like Carlton Banks from Fresh Prince.
Don't worry, Manny can also do this. Speak a lot of bullshit as well, actually. So,
okay, let's get serious. The question you asked, is that important? Well, like we mentioned before, squads are multinational. You've got players from all kinds of countries. You've got African players that speak French. You've got French players some of them can speak English. Some Belgian players that speak, well, Flemish isn't really proper, it's Dutch. It's a mishmash. If you can communicate and get to know somebody in their mother tongue, obviously it's going to be an advantage, isn't it? Certainly not going to be a disadvantage being able to communicate properly. At least you'll, stringently be able to get your message across too. So I think that's a bonus when you're attracting players, and you take a flight over to Italy or Germany, and you're trying to convince this guy to come over, but you can communicate. Remember, we tried to get Matthias Sule last summer, and he wouldn't come. If you travel over there, see the guy personally, and speak to him in his mother tongue in Espanol, then I think you're going to have a bigger chance of landing the player, because you're going to give those players confidence that I can work with this guy, I can talk to this guy, I can understand this guy, and he wants me at the same time.
Yeah. I was just looking at Simon. Have you seen the Simon Jordan thing today?
No, I haven't. No,
you've not seen it. He called Martí Cifuentes. He called
like
Martí
Chris Eubank style.
No, I'm saying it like that. No, he called Martí Cifuentes a disloyal rodent. Because he was putting his name out there for a few jobs towards the end of the season. I think he put his name out there for the West Brom job, Middlesbrough, potentially even Sheffield United quite recently. Of course, QPR put him on gardening leave and then basically sacked him, although I think it's gone down as mutual consent at the end of it. But yeah, Simon Jordan, Rent-A-Gob, has called him a disloyal rodent.
Saying things for effect, just clickbait. I mean, you can't criticise people for having ambition. What do you want people to do? Just stay in their little corner and not try and do better themselves in life. If you've got a chance to move up a ladder, you're going to try and take it. If it comes with a pay increase, great. But you're going to try and get up that ladder by hook or by crook. Certainly those people who are determined are going to go that way. And Simon Jordan, I like Simon Jordan, I do. And I find his show brilliant. And him and Jim and Danny and Mike and Kian do an excellent job on their show. Really is sort of taking radio and streaming to the next sort of level. But this is a guy who, when he was a chairman, he appointed Trevor Francis, Steve Bruce, Ian Dowie, Peter Taylor, and I think one or two others of that ilk as well. So he spent 10 seasons in charge of Palace, and 9 of those seasons were in the Championship. He got once in the Premier League, and they went down straight away. So I respect him. Obviously, he was a brilliant businessman. He's a smart guy, but some of his football opinions, I think, a little bit off at times.
Yeah, that's the rumour, Ryan. Apparently, Cifuentes will be on less salary than he was at QPR, although we would need to pay £500,000 to get him out, which, in football now in 2025, that's not a lot of money at all. I mean, I just had a little look, and somebody did say to me earlier that he's got great connections in Scandinavia.
He's worked in 3 of the countries in Scandinavia.
Well, these are I've just done some research. These are the languages he speaks. He speaks English, Spanish, Italian, Norwegian, and Swedish. So there you go. So, he's got connections in Scandinavia. It'd be nice to maybe, although stay away from the Danes, I think now at this point. But get some Swedes in. Get some Swedes in. Why not, mate? Why not?
Good value, Swedes. Good attitude. The Scandinavian players always have a good attitude. You don't get one who's got a bad attitude. It's not in their nature.
Yeah. Honestly, Danke, again, as always, we go off what the journalists are saying. Of course, that's all we can do because we don't have a line into the boardroom at the KP. But a couple of journalists out there seem that this is the front runner at the moment, which is why we're talking about him.
That's it's good and bad news, isn't it? Because we've had other people who've been front runners and they've never materialised. So this time we're kind of hoping that the boy who cried wolf actually got it right this time. And you never know. The merry-go-round might continue. I suggested that I thought they would end up with Andy King. Maybe that could still happen, but I think this is compatible. You know, I had 24 hours to work on this and think about this, and I like it more and more. It's growing on me all the time. So we've spent so many streams knocking managers down. This is one that personally I would tick. I think that would be a good appointment. Famous last words, but I think it would be a good appointment.
Yeah, I was hoping he could speak Danish so he can tell Victor and Vesti to fuck off. Although I think somebody just said he does speak Danish. I've just missed it off the list. So he speaks more than 4 or 5 apparently. So there you go. He speaks more than 5.
I think he worked at Aalborg. I think he worked at Aalborg for 23 games.
Yeah, and I've just seen he speaks Finnish as well apparently. So he could speak loads of languages.
If you speak Finnish, that is extremely special because Finnish is different. Well, here's a boring language lesson for you. Finnish is completely different to the other Scandinavian language because historically, I think it comes from like Aramaic or some ancient language, and it's a different tree. So it's not from the Germanic languages that sort of filtered through Europe. So that is a particularly hard language to learn. I don't know why you would learn it. You know, God knows. But if he can speak Finnish, then this guy is highly bright, highly intelligent, and he picks up concepts quickly. So if the fact that you can speak 6 languages and some of them are particularly difficult, that goes to show that you're a bright guy who can take on difficult concepts, incorporate them, and in your mind you're able to process things quickly too. I know it's, you know, you might think these are just sort of, you know, what the hell is this guy talking about? But you're trying to get a feel for the guy, how his mind works, how he thinks, what his processes are, why he learns things, why he does the things that he do. If you want to get a full picture of who is going to be in charge of your club.
I can confirm the Welsh language is very difficult, and
you do a bit of Welsh. Come on, give us a bit of Welsh.
No,
come on,
no. Mate, I haven't spoken Welsh properly in 8 years, so I've lost it, unfortunately. You know, I used to have. I think I showed you. I used to have a thick Welsh accent as well. Like I used to be proper Welsh accent.
I think Welsh accent's wicked, awesome. You can't beat 5 nations or 6 nations now. Ard Farms Park, get the national anthem going. These boys know how to sing.
Oh yeah, the national anthem at the rugby, mate.
Yeah, mate, Millennium Stadium and Cardiff Farms Park before that. Epic.
Yeah. What is it called now? The Principality, isn't it? The Principality Stadium.
It sounds a bit weird, don't it? When they like the KP, it took a bit of a while. We were called the Walkers Bowl initially, if you remember, and that felt a bit weird. But the KP feels right. Imagine if KP King Power did leave, they'd change the name of the stadium. God knows what we might be called.
Yeah.
Hey, get your checkbook out. BTG could sponsor the stadium.
Yeah. I was going to say Peldroid. Peldroid is football in Welsh. So you would say Rydwyn Hoffi Peldroid. That's I like football.
Sounds good.
Or Rydwyn Carry Peldroid. That's I love football. So there you go. There's a little Welsh lesson for you. Although we always used to, as teenagers in school, we used to love saying the Welsh word for red. Have a guess. Have a guess what the Welsh word for red is.
Boobs.
Cock.
Yeah. It's going to have something, isn't it? There you go. You learn something new every day.
There you go. You learn something new every day. Exactly. The Steve Cooper Stadium, the KP Nutt Stadium. That's true. Actually, yeah, that went quiet. Yeah, we need some Wout Phase rumors, I think, because we need to get him gone ASAP. Last few comments. We haven't got the QPR fan coming on, unfortunately, but we will get him on. We're gonna push. PSG are beating Real Madrid 2-0.
What did I say? What did I say? Best team in the world. Best team in the world.
6 minutes in.
Jesus. Fast twitch throttle ball played by athletic kids who are technically good is at the moment unbeatable. PSG are the best team in the world. Not only do I think that they'll win this tournament, they'll win the Champions League next year too. They are frighteningly good. And this is the point about us. When you've got a team that's young and capable of doing that, they can stay together for 3-4 years. You know, they can create. What I said yesterday on Final Whistle is there's a difference between creating a team and creating an era, and PSG are creating the start of an era.
Apparently, Courtois had a shocker. So there we go. Right. There was one comment I was going to bring up. Let me find it. This for me is a no argument, to be honest, Manny, because I keep saying this, but you know, with Enzo, for example, he was successful and then they paid us £10 million. You know, if that happened again with Cifuentes, I think, you know, that's just how football goes. If Cifuentes gets us promoted and then gets poached for 10 million, of course we'd rather him stay, but it means we've been successful. That's only a positive.
A manager is just an asset under contract, like a player. A manager has a value like players do. Now, I would think the managers, I'd like, if you really want a manager, why is the most expensive manager like 15 million quid? But if you want a footballer, you could cost 100 million, and a manager is very, very important. But it's no different with players. The business model is the same. You get the young manager in, you help them develop, they improve, you sell them on. You find the next young manager, you repeat. Same with players. Each time you're doing it, like Brighton have made how much on their player sales, but how much have they made on managers as well? They've got a few quid for Graham Potter, didn't they? And no problem, because they've already got if they've got a continuation plan, they've got the conveyor belt ready. So no problem, you can take this guy and his team. That's going to cost you £15 million, and we've already got the next team lined up. They're going to come in and replace, and we'll just repeat that cycle every 2, 3, 4 years. But you can't have an argument that I don't want to have quality because I'm scared quality is going to leave me. You know, but when quality does leave you, they go at a price. Wesley Fofana cost 30 million quid, 2 years of good performance, well, apart from the injury. All right, he stunk it out towards the end, but we made £40 million profit on the guy. You know, that he's done his job for the club. He's improved performance, we made a profit on him. That's the whole point, and the club is healthier overall if you can keep repeating that model.
Yeah. I don't know. Jack's being cryptic in the chat. I don't know what he's going on about. He's going on about martinis or something, for crying out loud. What are you going on about, Jack? I was going to say, they have been talking to QPR today to sort the situation. What, Leicester? Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll wait and see. A final whistle exclusive, everybody. Leicester City have been speaking to QPR. Right. What I was saying about the QPR fan, no QPR fan now, but we will. I'm gonna bust my gut to try and get James Olcott on. I will do my best to get him on. He's very, very, very. He's big. He's a big admirer of Martí Cifuentes. I'd recommend everybody go to his original video when they first signed Martí Cifuentes, because he did a really good deep dive and an analysis on him. But we'll try and get James on for a chat about him. Stay tuned, I suppose. We've got the OH Leuven match on Saturday. Of course, there'll be a watch along for that. Again, just like last week. So who knows? Maybe we'll have a manager through the door at that point who's going to start, instilling his style on the squad. We'll wait and see. And finally, last comment of the day. The Fast Show sketch. Managers halftime talk, speaking all the different players' language with emotion, then gets the English player and shouts to hide just to kick everyone. And here we go. Manny in a nil for manager's spot if Cifuentes' deal falls off. There we go. There's Foss Hub for you. Right. Big shout out to everybody who joined us tonight. Anil, Ragsy, Jack, Manny. Thank you to everybody who's been commenting, who's hit the like button. Big shout out. Thanks to the sponsors of the channel as well, Match Bingo, and also, Manny, are you wearing the shirt? There you go. If you like Manny's shirt, bluecityclasses.com, that's where you can find it. Of course, if there's news, if there's an emergency, if there's any breaking news or anything like that, we will be live with an emergency stream. As Salt says, like the stream, you bunch of reprobates. Anything to say to end the stream, Manny?
Just watch this match. Madrid versus PSG. I think they're the best two teams in the world at the moment. Best two football teams on the planet. And PSG are ahead of them. Just watch all the things that the template is, the youth, the pace, the technical quality, the speed of their play, how they counter-attack, how they press, how high up the pitch do they press, what do they do when they defend, how do they control, how do they do set pieces. Just try and pick up little things, and this is some high-quality football that these boys are playing at the moment, so enjoy it.
There you go. There you go. Right, guys, we'll see you very soon. We'll have a news video out tomorrow or Friday, and we'll be live with the manager news when it happens. Bye all. Bye all. Bye all. Shout out to Match Bingo. Thank you to today's sponsor, Match Bingo. Over 200 grand has been paid out to players so far by taking sports betting, football, and bingo and combining them into one brilliant app. Make sure to get your bingo card for any Leicester game in the upcoming season by clicking the link in the description or via the QR code on screen.